Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Christian Junction College, which assists youngsters with drug addiction, will shut down in July. The institution said the decision was made as a result of its inability to pay its staff after authorities froze the school's bank accounts. But the government rejected the accusation, saying it was the college that obstructed the financing arrangement. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Located at Chima 1 on Lantau Island, the Christian Junction College currently has 10 students and 8 teachers. Lee Kwok-kei, executive director of the school's board of directors, said he had earlier notified employees of the college's suspension in July. He said the decision was made because the police froze the school's bank accounts. Lee added that despite his efforts, the college is unable to continue paying its staff, and keeping them there is an unrealistic option. This after 4 directors of the association behind the college were arrested at the beginning of this year on suspicion of fraud. 3 college directors were placed on the wanted list, including Principal Alman Chan and founder Lam Hae Sing. Their bank accounts have been frozen. Sources said Christian Junction College previously applied for $6 million in its account to be unfrozen. Authorities then required the school to find replacements for Lam Hae Sing and some others as the bank account's registrant. As of now, more than $2 million have been unfrozen. Back in March, the government's Beat Drug Fund had already allocated over $1.8 million to Christian Junction College, allowing it to maintain operations. Meanwhile, the college's supervisor, Choi Hong-seung, criticized the Junction Association's board of directors for their continued influence over the school's finances, adding that fugitives such as Alman Chan and Lam Hae Sing continue to appear in their online meetings. This, as Secretary for Education Christine Choi said the government will provide assistance to affected students and teachers in the college, while criticizing Junction Association for failing to notify authorities about the school suspension. Regarding the possible continuation of the school under a new sponsoring body, lawmaker Peter Douglas Kuhn noted there are challenges in convincing churches to become sponsors. He added that even if a body steps in to take over the college, it is unlikely to be ready for students by the start of the new school year in September. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
A mother suspected of slapping her daughter at a public library in Shemshe-po earlier this week has been granted bail. The Social Welfare Department said the girl is now under the care of her relatives. The 35-year-old mother was suspected of slapping and pinching her daughter's face at the Po-on Road Public Library. The physical abuse continued at the building's backstairs. The woman was arrested on suspicion of ill treatment or neglect of a child or young person. She was granted bail but must report to the police early next month. Sources say the girl is a primary 4 student at a Ngau Tau Kok school. Her father was arrested on Friday on suspicion of slapping her and kicking her stomach on Monday. The government on Friday updated the Civil Service Code to include new sections related to the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance. Secretary for the Civil Service Ingrid Yeung said that it is necessary to strengthen civil servants' understanding of national security and for them to prioritize national security as their core value.
On the revised Civil Service Code, Secretary for Civil Service Ingrid Yeung said several of the 12 core values listed for government workers to uphold are not new. They include dedication to duty and political neutrality. Yeung said the Ordinance on Safeguarding National Security stated that civil servants should prioritize national security in their work, and if the chief executive has special administrative instructions, they must fully cooperate and support them. The code also states that criticizing government policies in the capacity of a civil servant is not allowed. Yeung said civil servants, especially those with more senior positions, should avoid expressing such views even in a personal capacity because it could be mistaken as the government's official stance. She cited the example of a signing campaign for animal rights. It won't be a problem if a junior worker took part in it, but for senior civil servants, there is a stronger association with the government department in public perception. She also believes it's a common requirement for senior roles at companies to be more cautious in voicing opinions. On the chief executive and council's proposal for a 3% salary increase for civil servants across the board, some civil servant unions have called for a further salary hike to follow net pay trend indicators. Yeung believes with the government's current financial position, there is not much room for adjustment.
Speaking at the National Security Legal Forum organized by the Department of Justice today, Vice Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Nong Rong, said the law helps to guarantee prosperity and stability in Hong Kong.
The central government cherishes and cares for one country, two systems, more than anyone else. The Hong Kong national security laws are never meant to lock up Hong Kong, but to accurately identify thieves and protect friends.
The majority of services at the Immigration Department headquarters in Wan Chai will be moved to the new headquarters in Tseung Kwan O next week. The Wan Chai headquarters, which has been in service for over 3 decades, will move to Tseung Kwan O this coming Tuesday, with the old building only retaining its registration of persons offices. Residents on Hong Kong Island could also acquire their travel documents at the Harbour Building in Sheung Wan if they received a notification from authorities on March 11th or after. Those who have received a notification from authorities on or prior to March 10th will have to collect them at the new Tseung Kwan O headquarters. French President Emmanuel Macron is hosting U.S. President Joe Biden as they discuss trade and support for Kyiv. Both leaders held talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And in the week that marked 80 years since the D-Day landings, Biden and Macron spoke of standing up to Russian threats. David Garrett reports.
US President Joe Biden at Le Pont de Hoc in World War II, a location of Nazi bunkers and machine gun posts prior to the D-Day landing in 1994, when US Army Rangers scaled the seaside cliffs metres from where Biden would speak.
A feared dictator had conquered a continent, had finally met his match. Because of them, the war turned. They stood against Hitler's aggression. Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today? They stormed the beaches alongside our allies. Does anyone believe these Rangers would want America to go it alone today?
You're the savior. On the 80th anniversary of D-Day, 99-year-old veteran Melvin Hurwitz and Volodymyr Zelensky embraced. Hurwitz said he was the savior of the people. Biden told the Ukrainian president he was sorry for the delay in $225 million of military funding, blaming Republicans in Congress.
The United States is standing with you. You are the bulwark against the aggression that's taking place. We have an obligation to be there, and so I'm looking forward to having a detailed discussion with you about where we go from here. But we're still in completely.
It's very important, and our meeting here is very symbolic. It's very important that you stay with us. This bipartisan support with the Congress, it's very important that in this unity, United States, America, all American people stay with Ukraine, like it was during World War II, how the United States helped to save human lives.
Zelensky also met with other allies. Emmanuel Macron welcomed Ukraine's leader and his wife to the Elysee Palace. The French president pledged Mirage combat aircrafts to Ukraine. Specialists will train Ukrainians. At a joint news conference, Macron spoke of standing up to aggression, but said it is not provocation.
Non, ça n'est pas déployer des gens.
This is not an escalation. This is not putting soldiers on the front line. It is recognising sovereignty over territory. Who would we be if we gave in to Russian threats? Who? Macron speaking a different language, but the message similar to Biden. David Garrett, TVB News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to be threatening the West with nuclear weapons, saying he reserves the right to arm Western adversaries without naming a specific country. Putin, speaking at an economic event in St. Petersburg, says Russia will not need to resort to a nuclear option to win the war in Ukraine. but with Western allies arming Ukraine and allowing them to use weapons on Russian territory. He asked, why should Russia not respond? Putin added he did not expect that day to come tomorrow. In another warning directed at Europe, Putin says the continent is defenseless against smaller tactical nuclear warheads because they do not have an early warning system. In Denmark, a man who assaulted the Danish Prime Minister was to appear today in a pre-trial custody hearing in the capital, Copenhagen. Police confirmed there has been an incident with Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen on Friday, and that a 39-year-old man was arrested. It wasn't clear if Frederiksen was hurt. 2 eyewitnesses said they saw a man walking towards Frederiksen and then pushing her hard on the shoulder, so she was shoved aside. They said that the premier did not fall down. A police officer took down the alleged assailant. William Anders, the former Apollo 8 astronaut who took the iconic Earthrise photo from space in 1968, was killed in a plane crash on Friday. He was 90 years old. Anders' photo showed Earth as a shadow blue marble while he was on the Apollo 8 mission. He died when the plane he was piloting alone plummeted into the waters of the San Juan Islands in Washington state. His son confirmed the death, saying, "We will miss him terribly." William Anders, a retired major general, has said the photo was one of his most significant contributions to the space program. It was the first color image of Earth from space and credited with sparking the global environmental movement for showing how delicate and isolated Earth appeared from space. Following a record hot May, parts of the U.S. are now facing a life-threatening heat wave, which takes a toll on people's lives financially and physically. NBC has the story.
Coast to coast tonight, scorching triple-digit temperatures from California to Florida. East of Tampa, the city of Winter Haven reaching a rare 102 degrees Thursday. Across the West, 15 million people under a heat dome, bringing blistering conditions to places like Las Vegas, which hit 111, and Phoenix, which reached 113, a daily record in both cities. After Maricopa County saw more than 600 heat-related deaths last year, Phoenix firefighters are now using ice immersion to treat heat stroke patients.
Every fire truck is now equipped with one of these bags, and firefighters say by immediately immersing a patient in ice, it can lower their body temperature by several degrees. Is this a matter of life and death?
Absolutely. The survivability that we're seeing is going through the roof when we can get these patients cooled down before we arrive to the hospital.
Extreme heat expert and Arizona State University professor Melissa Guardaro says the low temps are also concerning. Overnight, Phoenix not dropping below 87 degrees.
It's really a threat to public health at that point because you just don't have an opportunity to cool off.
And it takes a financial toll. Camille Rabani's electricity bill got so high last summer she would keep her thermostat at a stifling 83 degrees to cut down on costs.
We just kind of got to like 83 was manageable. But it's just, at that point, like, tight budget.
All this as NOAA says carbon dioxide is accumulating faster than ever in the atmosphere, acting like a blanket over the Earth and warming the planet. New data released by the EU finds globally the last 12 months have each been the hottest ever on record.
We need to take extreme heat very seriously. People are dying.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.